Shalom, brothers and sisters. How y'all doing? Happy Feast of Unleavened Bread. I hope everything's going well for you guys. Want to talk today about the Feast of First Fruits that will be coming following the next Shabbat, the next Sabbath. So from Saturday sundown to Sunday sundown, that day will be the Feast of First Fruits, Resurrection Day. They are the same thing. Christ is the first fruits of many. What you guys need to understand is all of these feasts were proclaimed over 1,000 years before Christ ever came. Moses proclaimed these to the children of Israel. Little did they know that they were all going to represent Messiah. Messiah represents them, has came and magnified them as he has the rest of the Torah to give it all deeper meaning. So it's not just a letter of the law. Now it's the spirit of the law. Okay, so I had a brother asking about first fruits, and very good question. You know, how is it that it like this year it's 7 days after Passover? You know, I thought, Christ was, in the grave, 3 days or what have you. But what you have to understand is the way in the Torah that it tells you about first fruits is that it always varies. So you have to watch the moon. You identify the new moon. That tells you the new year, the first month. Okay. You have to pay attention throughout the year to know when that time is and what have you. But okay, so you identify the new moon. Then on the 14th day is Passover, whether you understand that to be at the beginning of the Passover, the evening coming into the 14th, or the evening leaving the 14th. Then you have the week of unleavened bread, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So in Leviticus 23, it says, we'll start at verse 10. It says, "Speak unto the children of Israel, and say to them, when you do come into the land which I give you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest, and he shall wave the sheaf before Yah to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. And ye shall offer that day, when ye wave the sheaf, a he lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering unto Yah." Okay, so, and then that starts the counting of the Omer, where you count 7 Sabbaths, and the morrow after is Shavuot, or Pentecost. But what you have to understand is you on the 14th day starts Passover. Then you have a week of unleavened bread. So you will have one weekly Sabbath, Shabbat, within that time period. Sometimes it may be the first day. Sometimes it may be in the middle. Sometimes it may be the last day. First fruits is the day following the Shabbat within that week. So the year that Christ died for our sins and was the Passover, the way it worked at that time during that year, that's where you had the 3 days later, the resurrection. Had he done that the year before or the year after, there probably would not have been a 3-day time period. Some years there is, some years there not. But at the same time, first fruits is resurrection day, to where even if it's a 5-day time period or a 7-day time period or a 2-day time period, we need to honor the day just the same. I don't necessarily agree with, okay, Passover was this day, 3 days later we keep first fruits. Why? Because biblically that's not what we're told to do. That year it worked out that way, and yes, Christ was in the grave 3 days, but it just so happened to work out that year like that. Technically, biblically, we are told how to calculate first fruits, and it varies. And we should stick to that rather than, in my opinion, rather than just going off of the 3 days, because Christ represented that holy day. That year, it was going to work out where it was a 3-day time period, And I'm sure this was all calculated. God is all knowing. So, of course, but to just go off of that 3 days rather than to honor the exact feast day or the holy day, I don't agree with that. But that is the explanation of why it's not necessarily, or even this year, 3 days later. I hope that makes sense. If you have any more questions, please ask and let me know and we can talk about it. The other thing I wanted to talk about is this is the week of unleavened bread. Leaven can represent many things. It talks about the leaven of heaven. So leaven is not necessarily always something that is a bad thing. It's something that all you need is a little bit of it, and it can affect the whole body in a sense. A little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. You put a little leaven in, all of the bread is leavened. So another way that leavened is talked about is doctrine. So I think that is a wonderful symbolic meaning of this week of unleavened bread is, Christ in Matthew 5:16, verse 6, it says, "Then Yeshua said unto them, Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees." Okay, verse 11 says, "How is it that you do not understand that I spake it not of you concerning bread, that ye should beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees? Then understood they how that he bade them not beware of the leaven of bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees." Okay, so during this Feast of Unleavened Bread, we can, in a sense, get out the doctrine, the preconceived notions that we've gotten about different things, and go back to the drawing board and verify that these things are what we believe them to be. For most things, we're going to come right back to the same conclusion. But there's other things that we may change our perspective on a little bit. Cooking on Shabbat, not cooking on Shabbat. The Passover, the beginning of the day, the end of the day. That could be the name. That could be tassels. Who are they for? Like all these different things. What is unclean food? What is not? All these different things, we can retest what we believe to know. And as long as they are accurate, we should come back to the same conclusion. And I think that's a wonderful thing, because if not, we can start to, pride can start to build, and we like, well, somebody contradicts the way we understand something, and we're just like, no, that's not how I believe it to be, and it can become pride can cause a lot of problems. So I think it's good to be humble, kind of go back to the drawing board with some of these things, and I think that's a very unique and cool way to go about the week of unleavened bread. So once again, I pray you had a blessed Passover. I pray that these feasts are a blessing to you. Looking forward to the upcoming Feast of First Fruits, the Day of First Fruits, Resurrection Sunday, and until next time, shalom. I love you guys.